Hey guys, it's Jericho2 here for runitones.com, and today I'm proud to present to you the first mini course in Run It Once history, Red Line Mastery, Outplaying Opponents Without Showdown by yours truly, the Jericho2. The first episode of this mini course will be Are Red Line Players Always Bluffing? Before we get into it, let me introduce the goal of this mini course, the purpose of this mini course. I want to make Run It Once users better red line players, better at winning at non-showdown, making them harder to play against. And I believe that we will achieve this by improving everybody's red line, making them bluff more, making them call more. It's an underrated part of the game, and I kind of want to shed light on it. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? What does it mean being a red line player? Well, first of all, like poker graphs are made up of 4 different lines. You have the green line, which are going to be your straight up winnings or losses. You have the yellow line, or sometimes referred as the orange line, which is going to be your all in expected value adjusted winnings. So what does it mean, all in expected value adjusted winnings? If I were to get in aces versus kings pre and I would win, I would be running above EV, above expected value, because I'm supposed to win that pot on average 80% of the time. If I were to get in queens versus jacks and I were to lose, I would be running under EV, under expected value, because I lost a pot that I'm supposed to win 80% of the time. So the yellow line or orange line will kind of try to tell you how much you should have won given all the all-ins that occurred. The blue line, which is the third line, is the showdown winnings. So how often do you win whenever you table your hand, when you show down your hand? So you're on the river, you bet, they call, show the hands, or you're on the river, they bet, you call, you show the hand, or check, show down the hand. How often are you winning in that spot? Usually people kind of win a lot. That's how they make most of their money. They bet the river, they get called by worse, they show their hand. So usually that's the way people win most often on average. And the fourth line, the one we will be focusing on in this course, is the red line, aka non-showdown winnings. What does that mean? Whenever you 3-bet pre and they fold, you 4-bet pre and they fold, whenever you bet flop and they fold, whenever you raise turn and they fold, whenever you bet river or raise river and they fold, whenever you win a hand without showing down your hand, this will go into non-showdown winnings. It's also true for whenever you fold flop, fold pre, fold turn, this will go into your non-showdown winnings negatively, because you will be losing money without showing down your hand. Most people usually lose a decent amount in non-showdown winnings from what I've seen. And just to summarize a bit, the green line will be the sum of both showdown and non-showdown winnings. So in other words, blue line plus red line will equal your net winnings, aka green line. And just to show you an example, let's have a look at my overall PokerStars 2KNL graph, and I will show you the different lines. So I have played a bit more than 100 KNs on that stake. So this is the green line, which basically is your net winnings. So yeah, most people know that line on the graph. Now, if I were to go to show all in expected value, you can see that I was running more or less on par with EV expected value in most parts of the graph. And if I were to look at the end, I am probably running like 4 to 5K under EV there. So I was supposed to win 4 or 5K more than I did, given all the all-ins that occurred over those 100K ends. Now for the showdown lines, so we can see the red line being up quite a lot, most of the time carrying the graph. Did run pretty bad at the end. the blue line wasn't winning until what, like hand 65, 60, until 65k hands. So yeah, random did bad there too. But yeah, overall, you can see that most of the graph was being carried by the red line, making most of the winnings of this graph. And you can see that the blue line plus the red line winnings will equal the green line winnings. So I hope this is clear for everybody. Now that we know what the lines mean, let's get into the depth of things. A couple of misconceptions that I often hear about being a red line player is that people assume that you are always bluffing. And don't get me wrong, bluffing or being aggressive is an important part about getting your red line up. However, the other important aspect about being a red line player that is often forgotten is calling. And I would say that calling is as important as bluffing. Whenever I'm teaching students about improving their red line, most of them will only focus on the bluffing aspect of the game. So finding the right combos, the right frequencies, being a pain in the ass to play, like just bluffing a lot, raising a lot. This is good. However, they tend to brush away the calling aspect. They kind of feel as if it's not being as important or as valuable as the bluffing aspect of the game. Personally, and from my experience, I would say that improving your calling skills will move your red line upwards way more than improving your bluffing skills. And it's a very underrated aspect of the game, because usually calling is like, oh, whatever. You call you call strong hands, you fold the rest, but there's more to it. And so just to summarize a little bit, to improve one's red line, we must work on both the bluffing aspect and the calling aspect. On average, like the most natural thing to do is just to focus on the bluffing aspect. So like don't feel bad if that's what your go-to sentiment is. I was like this too at the beginning. And the calling aspect is as important and usually will impact red line way more. Yeah, that's what I've experienced. Like whenever I started to work on my calling, my red line went up way more. So let's have a look at a few different graphs. We have here the blue line graph, which I would say 90 to 95% of players have a graph that is more or less similar to that. It's a graph that doesn't focus much on bluffing nor calling. Usually the blue line will be through the roof and the red line will be tanking. So usually the red line will be like a 45-degree angle, like going straight down. And it's the typical blue line winning player type of graph. So usually it's players that focus a lot on value betting, on getting called by worse. They don't really care too much about the bluffing aspect of the game, about the calling aspect of the game. They just try to make hands, get paid, move on. And I had a graph like this for a long time. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I was a bit of a nit, and I was not bluffing much, and I was folding a lot. So yeah, I know good players that have a graph like this, but I think the best players usually will have other type of graphs that we'll get to. The next type of graph will be the break-even red line graph. So usually that will be a graph that focuses on bluffing, but disregards calling. So whenever I get students that want to improve their red line, they usually go from a blue line graph to a break-even red line graph. They start bluffing a lot. Usually their calling stays more or less the same, but they start bluffing a lot and then their red line kind of breaks even. And it's the typical like bluffing right frequencies type of graph. It's definitely an improvement, I believe, over the blue line graph. You're harder to play against, and it shows that you're willing to put the money in with air, with your bluffs. And yeah, I think a lot of good regulars have this type of graph. A lot of the best players at mid stakes, they have a graph more or less similar to this. And the last type of graph, the one that I aspire to bring my students to, is the red line graph. So it's a graph that will focus on bluffing and calling. Blue line usually will win or be break even, and the red line is the one carrying the graph, the one that will be winning heaps. And it's the typical bluffing and calling right frequencies type of graph. This is the hardest type of graph to achieve in no limit hold'em. It's really hard to do, in my opinion, because you need to study a lot of the bluffing aspect, a lot of the calling aspect. And your blue line, if it's winning, like, it means that you're doing a lot right as well. I believe this is like peak no limit hold'em poker performance here. If you're able to get a graph like this, like, you are on top of things. If a solver would play it, would more or less have a graph like this, winning a lot with red line and blue line winning as well, but yeah, just being carried by the red line. And I think the toughest players usually will have graphs like this. The ones that are aggressive, the ones that are willing to put the money in with air, the ones that are willing to make tough calls, they usually will have graphs like this. And yeah, this is, you can also call this a purple line graph when both red line and blue line are winning. Blue plus red usually equals purple. So yeah, that's a cool thing to have, in my opinion. Yeah. And just to end on a great on a cool note, this is my PokerStars 1KNL overall graph. You can see most of the winnings are with the red line. Ran really bad at the end here, and blue line got hit really hard. But you can see the red line most of the time, like, going upwards, carrying the graph, and just overall being aggressive, calling a lot, bluffing a lot, trying to be a pain in the ass to play against. Because those games are going to be tough, right? At 1K, at 2K, you're going to be playing a lot of 3-handed, playing against tough players. So you need to be aggressive. You need to call a lot. You need to bluff a lot. And I think if you can apply this to mid-stakes game, to small stakes game, then you're going to be ready for the higher stakes as well. So, and it's good things to put into motion. So yeah, this is what I aspire to bring you guys to, and this is what I aspire my students to get to as well. Thanks to you guys for watching. This was the Jericho2 for whatitwas.com in the first episode of Redline Mastery. See ya and take care. Ciao, ciao.